My name's John von Benecke. I'm the Chief Executive at Locate Bio. Locate Bio are a regenerative medicine company focused on orthobiologics. We're a spin-out from the University of Nottingham School of Pharmacy, and we develop a range of products for patients that either have chronic debilitating conditions or because of infection have an acute risk of amputation of a limb. We bring together two distinct competencies in the company. One is a deep knowledge about tissue engineering, where we're able to generate new tissue scaffolds which direct the body's own healing response to tissue types. And the second, and something that we're particularly passionate about given our heritage coming from a leading school of pharmacy, is something we call programmed drug release, which is the release of biomolecules in the body at a more appropriate period for the patient's own healing. And we bring those two things together, which gives us a unique setting within the industry, but also creates a highly disruptive potential for the products that we're developing. So LDGraft is our lead product. It is a low-dose controlled-release BMP2 used for spinal surgery. Now, BMP2 is a highly effective therapeutic protein that surgeons will implant into defect sites where they want bone to grow. Most of us have had lower back pain at some point in our life, and most of the time it's not too bad and maybe lasts for a few days or a week. But for some patients, that pain never goes away and only gets worse over time. And that's because they suffer with something called degenerative disc disease. Now, the discs are the shock absorbers of your spine. They keep the bones apart. And a natural part of aging is that they start to lose disc height and start to lose fluids. They dehydrate slightly. And that means that these discs are slightly narrow, and it puts more and more pressure on the roots of the nerves coming out of your spine. And for them, that's a debilitating and excruciatingly painful condition, and it requires surgery to correct. So what the surgeon will do is remove the diseased disc that has lost its height and replace it with a number of different types of cages, but here is one example. And that cage is then used to restore the disc height and also alignment. But they don't want to just leave that metalwork in place. What they're trying to do there is get bone to grow. So they will use a product like LD Graft, which is this putty here, and insert it within the cage and around the cage. And that LD Graft will then be transformed into bone over a number of months, restoring patient functionality. So Cognitos is an antibiotic-loaded bone graft. It has the same principles as LD Graft in that we have this highly engineered tissue scaffold that has instructive features to guide the body's own healing, and then the slow release of antibiotic over time, which really protects the graft site from infection. So this is for bones that have been infected or at risk of infection. Now, bone is generally very good at resisting infection, but once it does become infected, it's actually quite poor at being able to combat that infection. Now, bone can become infected by a number of ways, and one of the ways that it can become infected is if you have an open fracture. If you break your bone and it comes up through the skin, it will collect the bacteria on your skin or on your clothes, or if you've fallen onto a dirty surface, it will collect that bacteria. And that bacteria will colonize that injury site, and within a matter of hours form something called biofilm, which is very resistant to antibiotics. And our product goes in to repair the bone, but also protect that graft site as a foreign body from that bacteria being able to establish a colony there. Open fractures have a very high risk of amputation with them, so if you have a high-grade open fracture of your shin bone, because of the soft tissue injury, because of the damage to the bone and the infection, those three things together present you about a 5% amputation risk. And the really sad thing is that these are often injuries suffered by young men in the prime of their lives, where because of a car accident or a work-related injury, say a fall from height or active military service, they're sustaining these injuries. So any products that come to the market that can minimise the life-changing consequences of one of those fractures, I'm sure you'll all agree is super important. Locate are based in Nottingham, which is outside the typical three areas that get most of the VC funding, which is Cambridge, Oxford and London. And we were delighted that there is an investor just like Mercia who are in the regions, from the regions and to the regions. And we were very, that's a great alignment with us. Delighted that they could see the massive potential that our products have, and they've been incredibly supportive investors since that first investment. We're delighted that Mercia have continued to follow their money. They're now bringing in a slightly later stage of their funds. So Mercia are a really interesting investor in that they do early proof of concept stuff through their EIS funds. They're able to invest off their balance sheet across a range of funds, and then more later stage companies, which is where we are now through the VCT. So as we drive LD Graft forward through its final preclinical testing and getting that product ready to go into our human clinical studies, it was a great partner to have through the VCT group. I would say to any of my peers out there who are in a similar stage company, they should definitely be speaking to Mercia. It's a long process to raise finance. Mercia do have a range of funding options available from their EIS through their VCT and off their balance sheet, and they also provide debt. So they provide a full spectrum of funding to support companies. And they've been a super supportive investor for us, not just with money, but with a bunch of other things as well around strategic support and marketing support. So they're a great partner, and I would encourage any of my peers who are looking for that funding to start engaging with Mercia early. So Locate Bio are going through a fantastic period of growth at the moment. So our development programs are really hitting all their milestones. We're doing really, really well. Some great new science being developed in the company. We're really excited about bringing our first products to human clinical studies. So really exciting time, fun time to be at Locate. Everyone's really enjoying it.